he was a poor, disgusting loser, but then gets reincarnated as a prince with godly abilities. Lloyd was a pathetic commoner who got caught and was about to be executed by a group of nobles for being ugly and useless. The nobles laughed at him for having the weakest magic in the entire kingdom and claimed he didn't deserve to live. But before killing him, they decided to disrespect him one last time, giving him a free chance to use his spells on them. Blinded by anger, Lloyd used his fire magic to attack a noble, but his magic was so weak that they burst out laughing again. At that moment, Lloyd couldn't help but wonder, why was he even born like this? Then, one of the nobles decided to end his misery. He launched a fireball back at Lloyd, showing him what real magic looked like. Lloyd was instantly engulfed in flames, screaming in agony. But in that very moment, something changed. The first time, he truly understood what magic was, even as he burned. He admired the beauty and perfection of the noble's spell, and deep in his heart he made a wish if only he could get another chance at life, he would learn everything about magic, and become the strongest wizard imaginable. The next moment, his eyes opened. He found himself in an unfamiliar room, surrounded by maids. Confused, he wondered if this was heaven, and without thinking, tried to cop a feel, but suddenly, he accidentally activated a magic spell that blasted straight through the castle roof. Lloyd froze, even though he was just a toddler. His magic was insanely powerful. It turned out his wish had come true. Not only had he been reincarnated with an overwhelming amount of mana, he was also reborn as a noble, the 7th prince of the royal family. A few years passed and the kingdom prospered. People lived peacefully, earning enough to eat and sleep happily within the beautiful castle. Meanwhile, the maids were desperately searching the corridors for Lloyd, who was currently hiding behind a statue, trying to escape them. He made a run for it in the opposite direction, but ended up bumping into a group of politicians. Quickly, he told them not to reveal his location to the maids. The politician agreed, and even tried to win his favor by inviting him on a hunting trip. But by the time he finished speaking, Lloyd had already disappeared. One blue-haired man scoffed, calling him a kissos for trying to impress the 7th prince, someone who would never inherit the throne. But the blonde man reminded him this is the same kid who was reading spell books before he was even 1 year old, refused breast milk like a true gentleman, and blew a hole through the castle roof the day he was born. Lloyd, however, had zero interest in this road. Instead, he ran around the castle in his new body, which, for some reason, had ridiculously thick thighs. But hey, anything can happen in this world. After juking the maids once again, he finally made his way into the royal library. The moment he stepped inside, his eyes lit up. Shelves filled with magic books surrounded him, knowledge he couldn't wait to devour. He grabbed one of the massive books, ready to start reading, but before he could even open it, Silva, his teacher, showed up and dragged him away for sword practice. They immediately began sparring at an insane speed, attacking and counterattacking faster than the eye could follow. At first glance, it looked like Lloyd could actually keep up with Silva and her overwhelming strength. But soon enough, she started pushing him back as they paused for a moment. Lloyd complained about having to train with a sword every single day. "I'm the 7th prince," he said. "It's not like I'm ever getting the crown anyway." But Silva didn't care. She told him that everyone, royalty or not, should know how to use a sword and protect themselves. In fact, she admitted that training Lloyd had become her obsession over the past 3 years. Her only purpose. Lloyd just sighed and told her to get a life and touch some grass. Naturally, she ignored that and attacked again. Their swords clashed once more, Lloyd blocking perfectly. The fight escalated, their blades striking again and again, like Goku and Vegeta going all out. Silva admitted that Lloyd had improved a lot. He was becoming a skilled swordsman, but Lloyd could tell she was still holding back. So to keep up, he secretly used control-type magic, allowing him to copy every single one of her movements. In other words, yeah, he was cheating, but not because he wanted to win. He just wanted to finish training faster so he could go back to reading. Even then, it wasn't enough. The difference in their arm strength, reach, and height still gave Silva the advantage, forcing Lloyd onto the defensive once again. Realizing that if he didn't step up, he'd be stuck training all evening, Lloyd decided to cheat even more. He extended the length of his sword using magic, he enhanced his forearms, and even started levitating to compensate for the height difference. Then he charged at Silva once again, but this time, things were about to get serious. Even now, both of them continue clashing at insane speed, attacking, countering, and matching each other blow for blow. Lloyd suddenly switches things up, using levitation magic. He changes his angle mid-air and attacks from above, catching Silpha slightly off guard. With seeing an opening, he boosts himself using the fountain nearby, going in for what looks like a finishing strike, but Silpha calmly blocks it. In the very next second, she slams him straight into the ground and bonks him on the head. Fight over. She immediately calls him out for cheating. She points out everything, how he secretly extended the length of his sword to gain more reach, and how he used levitation magic to make up for the difference in height. But instead of getting angry, she's impressed. It's actually more than impressed. She starts praising him, saying that using multiple types of magic at the same time isn't something even top-court mages can do. Meanwhile, Lloyd stays quiet, because she still hasn't figured out that he was also boosting his physical strength and using control magic to copy her every move. Later that evening, Lloyd is taken to the bathhouse as while he's relaxing, the maids start talking about something interesting, a forbidden book hidden deep within the castle's dungeon. According to legend, it contains the sealed soul of an ancient demon. The moment Lloyd hears it, he's already interested. That same night, he sneaks out, using invisibility magic. He silently moves through the castle, slipping past guards and making his way down into the dungeon towards a place filled with dangerous magic strong enough to shake the entire kingdom. Eventually, he finds at the entrance to the forbidden library, but it's sealed with powerful protective magic. For anyone else, this would be impossible to break. For Lloyd, it takes seconds. He effortlessly nullifies the barrier and walks inside. The moment he enters, his excitement goes crazy. Shelves filled with forbidden magic books. This is heaven for him. He starts running around, unable to control himself, trying to decide what to read first. But before he can even pick one, a book suddenly flies out on its own. Dark energy begins leaking from it as something tries to break free. A strange creature starts emerging, but the barrier magic binds it in place. The creature looks at Lloyd and is clearly surprised. It praises him for breaking the library seal and then introduces itself, an ancient demon named Grim. Grim asks Lloyd to release him, claiming the seal is already weakening and he'll escape sooner or later anyway. He even tries to bribe him with gold, but Lloyd isn't stupid. He crushes the gold in his hand and casually points out that it's fake, just magic shaped into something that looks valuable. Then he turns it back into dust. That's when Grim realizes this kid isn't normal. Lloyd calmly tells him he'll restore the barrier later, after he finishes reading some books. Now Grim starts panicking. He quickly changes his tone, claiming he has no interest in harming the kingdom and that the mage who sealed him is already dead. But Lloyd isn't convinced, so Grim plays his final card. He offers to teach Lloyd ancient magic that doesn't exist in any book. That gets Lloyd's attention instantly. He asks him seriously, "Will you actually teach me?" Grim promises, and that's all Lloyd needs to hear. Without hesitation, Lloyd removes the seal. The barrier breaks, and Grim is finally free. The demon emerges in a strange, monstrous form, and the moment he's out, he immediately attacks. No hesitation. He unleashes a massive blast of dark magic, powerful enough to destroy the entire library in an instant. Everything gets wiped out. Dust everywhere. Grim prepares to go even further, ready to destroy the kingdom itself. But then, the dust clears, and Lloyd is standing there completely unharmed, protected by a massive magical barrier. For the first time, Grim is confused. Lloyd casually admits he's never seen magic like this before, and that only excites him more. Grim, now annoyed, starts firing multiple dark magic attacks in rapid succession, but none of them work, not even a scratch on the barrier. Meanwhile, Lloyd is just analyzing everything, trying to understand how this dark magic works. Then he does something insane. He grabs the dark magic with his bare hands. It tears into his fingers, but instead of backing off, he's fascinated. This man is literally enjoying it. He even tells Grim to go all out. Now Grim gets serious. He splits his focus and starts chanting 2 different spells at the same time, then combines them into one massive attack and fires it straight at Lloyd. A power blast. But once again, 0 damage at this point. Grim is terrified. He tries to run away only to slam into another barrier. Lloyd calmly explains he already set up a second barrier outside just in case Grim tried to escape and cause trouble. Now the demon is completely trapped, and for the first time in who knows how long, Grim realizes something terrifying. He's not dealing with a normal human, he's dealing with a monster. Lloyd suddenly tells Grim to stop and challenges him to show his strongest defensive magic. But before Grim can even react, Lloyd starts chanting "dot" in the next moment. He fires a magic sphere so powerful that it completely transforms the entire barrier into a molten inferno. The ground melts into lava, and Grim gets roasted alive inside it. Meanwhile, Lloyd just floats above, calmly watching like it's a normal experiment. Once it's over, Lloyd casually restores everything. With a wave of his magic, the destroyed library is rebuilt back to perfect condition like nothing ever happened. Grim is completely shocked at this point. He's not even scared anymore. He's confused. Who even is this kid? That's when Lloyd realizes something interesting. Demons don't truly die, and instantly a new idea pops into his head. What if he used Grim as a test subject? To experiment with new spells. The moment Grim senses this, he immediately panics. He drops to his knees and begs for mercy, promising to serve Lloyd as his loyal familiar forever. And honestly, Lloyd agrees. But there's one problem. Grim's current form is ugly dot, so Lloyd tells him to fix it. Without hesitation, Grim transforms into a small, cute goat-like creature. Lloyd nods in approval and tells him to get in his pocket. Grim obeys, but in his mind he's already planning something if he gets close enough. Maybe he can take over Lloyd's body. But the moment he makes contact, he realizes something. Terrifying. Lloyd's mana is so overwhelming, he can't even move. Forget controlling his body, he can't even control a single finger dot at that moment. Grim understands the truth. This isn't someone he can manipulate. So he immediately switches sides and starts acting completely obedient, while secretly thinking of ways to survive. Weeks pass peacefully. Until one day, while Lloyd is reading in the library, his older brother Prince Albert walks in. He's second in line for the throne and far more serious compared to Lloyd. After greeting him, Albert invites Lloyd to train together, and Lloyd, of course, he agrees. Down at the training ground, Albert shows off his magic. He fires precise fireballs, hitting every target perfectly in the center. The maids and attendants are impressed, clapping and praising him. Then it's Lloyd's turn. He steps forward, with this time he holds back. Instead of showing his true power, he intentionally misses a center, barely grazing each target. Everyone still claps, but one of the officials mocks him, comparing him to Albert Dot, saying he can't even hit properly. Albert clearly doesn't like that comment, but instead of arguing, he just ends the session and leaves, telling Lloyd to keep practicing. And the moment everyone's gone, Lloyd's mood changes completely. Now he's free. Now he can go all out. He turns to Grim and brings up something interesting, that dual spell technique Grim used earlier, casting 2 spells at once. Grim immediately says that's impossible for humans. Only demons can do it, because they can handle multiple chants at once. But Lloyd, he doesn't care. He says he has an idea. Without warning, he grabs Grim using magic and fuses him into his own casting process. Now they attempt something insane, chanting 2 different spells at the same time. The first attempt fails. The spells are too complex, but Lloyd doesn't stop. He tries again. This time, something changes. The air around them starts shaking. Grim can feel an unbelievable amount of mana building up inside Lloyd Dot, and then he realizes something terrifying. Lloyd isn't just casting 2 spells. He's combining 2 completely different types of magic, opposing forces, something that shouldn't even be possible. Reality itself begins to distort. 2 condensed spheres of magic form in Lloyd's hands. Then he merges them and fires it into the sky. Boom. A massive explosion echoes across the entire kingdom when the dust settles. The training ground is completely destroyed, and worse, there's a huge hole in the sky. Lloyd just stands there, stunned. Even he didn't expect that. For a moment, it looks like he might have broken reality itself. But slowly, the sky begins to repair itself. Everything stabilizes. Crisis avoided. Barely. The next day, Grim brings a newspaper showing the massive hole in the sky incident. It's already become a huge story across the kingdom, but Lloyd, he's not even interested. Something else catches his attention. An article about adventurers finding treasure inside a dungeon, and instantly he makes a decision. He wants to go. So what does he do? He creates a perfect clone of himself, using magic, a double that can stay behind and act normally. And without wasting time, he takes off, flying across the land in search of a dungeon. Meanwhile, part of Grim's soul stays inside the clone so they can stay connected. Back at the castle, the clone acts normally, while the real Lloyd travels far away. Eventually, they spot something interesting: a girl being chased by a group of orcs. They stop to observe from a distance. But what happens next surprises even Lloyd. The girl suddenly uses a special breathing technique, and her power explodes. She charges forward, defeating the orcs one by one with pure skill, then finishes the last one with a powerful energy blast. Lloyd is impressed. He's only read about abilities like that in books, but before he can think further, the girl notices him, and immediately rushes toward him, thinking he's an enemy. In that moment, Lloyd quickly changes his appearance using magic, making himself look older and more mature. The girl stops, and is instantly caught off guard. Instead of attacking, she introduces herself, a rank warrior from another continent. Lloyd calmly asks her one thing: do you know where I can find a dungeon? And just like that, a new adventure begins. Lloyd curiously asks her if she was using some kind of energy technique to fight. She nods and tells him it's called Cage, a special breathing method that allows you to draw out hidden power from within your body. According to her, not many people even know about it. But before she can finish explaining, Lloyd is already trying it, just by watching her once. He begins copying the breathing pattern, and to her shock, he actually manages to feel a completely new kind of energy inside himself. And the moment he senses it, he gets excited like he just discovered something amazing. They continue deeper into the dungeon together. Suddenly, a monster wolf jumps out at them, but before it can even react, she instantly destroys it with a Kai-powered attack. Lloyd watched closely, clearly impressed. This isn't magic, but it's powerful in a completely different way. Soon, they reach the center of the dungeon. A treasure chest sits quietly in the middle of the room. She casually mentions that low-level dungeons usually don't have anything special inside, but at the same time, she notices Lloyd still practicing Kai breathing non-stop, and for some reason that makes her way too happy. She even starts imagining a future with him. She walks forward and reaches for the chest, but at the moment she touches it, something feels wrong. Out of nowhere, a massive black blade shoots up from the ground. It's fast enough to slice her in half, but Lloyd reacts instantly. He shoves her out of the way just in time. The blade slashes past them, cutting through solid rock like it's nothing. Both of them jump back in shock, and then the ground starts shaking. From beneath the chest, a giant skeletal figure slowly rises, radiating pure danger. Lloyd looks at it, confused. What is that? Which thing? And the moment she sees it, her face drops, because she knows exactly what it is. A lich. Without hesitation, she turns to Lloyd, apologizes, and blasts him away using a Kai technique, sending him flying toward the dungeon exit. She knows one thing: he has no chance against this monster. The lich immediately starts attacking her with multiple floating blades, but she dodges, jumps, and counters with everything she has. Even landing hits doesn't feel right. The strength of this monster is completely abnormal. Something like this shouldn't even exist in a level dungeon. Now she realizes the truth. This isn't a fight she can win, so instead she focuses on one goal: keeping the lich busy until Lloyd escapes safely. Meanwhile, Lloyd is still flying through the air after being blasted away. Confused, he slows himself down using barrier magic, accidentally crushing a couple of smaller monsters in the process. Then he looks at his hand and tries to talk to Grim, but something feels off. Grim sounds weak. Exhausted, he tells Lloyd to come back as soon as possible. Back in the boss room, she's barely holding on. She manages to block and counter the lich's attacks, but she's already heavily injured. If this continues, she knows she won't survive. Then suddenly the lich starts talking. It mocks her, saying that Kai is one of the lowest forms of power. It even mentions that it once devoured a Kai user and found them completely disappointing. According to it, whenever it eats someone, it gains their knowledge and abilities, but she's too weak to even bother. Instead, it asks about Lloyd. Because something about him felt different. His reaction speed, his awareness, it wasn't normal. Even while injured, she defends him, saying that Lloyd respected Kai, even though others looked down on it, that he genuinely wanted to learn it. With that, she gathers the last of her strength. She charges forward again, unleashing a barrage of attacks. Hit after hit, pushing herself beyond her limits, thinking about all the years she spent training since childhood, and finally she breaks through the lich's barrier. But the lich is gone. In the next second, it appears behind her, completely unharmed. It tells her she's weak, boring, not even worth its time. Then it prepares a finishing attack. A massive magical shard forms and launches straight at her. She can't move, she's exhausted. This is the end. But suddenly the attack shatters into pieces mid-air. Lloyd is back, standing right in front of her, blocking everything with his barrier. He calmly tells her, "You did well," and then steps forward, saying he'll take it from here. She looks at him, confused, but then she notices something. The look in his eyes. He's not scared, he's excited. The lich starts chanting another spell, but before it can finish, Lloyd suddenly disappears. Using Kai movement, he instantly gets behind it. Even the lich is shocked by his speed. Lloyd takes a deep breath and flips upside down mid-air, protecting himself with multiple layers of barriers as attacks start flying toward him. But instead of panicking, he's thinking, analyzing everything she taught him about Kai. Then he starts moving, running across the battlefield at insane speed. while the Lich keeps attacking non-stop, but something feels off. Lloyd realizes something important: his own barrier is interfering with the flow of air, which means it's disrupting his Kai breathing. And that realization changes everything. The Lich immediately fires a barrage of magic blasts, trying to end the fight as quickly as possible. But Lloyd hangs from a rock and leaps away, dodging each attack one by one as he parkours across the entire cave. Slowly, he starts getting the hang of it. Then, he does something insane. He merges his Kai with his mana, creating an incredibly powerful magic attack. He continues dodging, then unleashes the energy around himself, completely destroying all of the Lich's attacks. Both Tao and the monster are left stunned. But Lloyd isn't done yet. He creates razor-sharp magic blades and starts firing them at the Lich. The monster tries to block, but is forced to burn through a massive amount of magic just to keep up with Lloyd's overwhelming offense. The Lich is completely bewildered. It can't believe what it's seeing. Lloyd is attacking way too fast, and by combining his magic with Kai techniques, he has already surpassed the Lich's own power. A blade slices across the monster's face, and that's when Lloyd gains even more confidence. He sharpens his blades further, making them thinner, faster, and deadlier. The Lich is forced to retreat inside a magic barrier, but, to everyone's shock, Lloyd's blades slice straight through it, along with the Lich itself. The monster is destroyed once and for all. After the fight, they check the treasure chest and find nothing special, just an old knife. Tao doesn't care about it, so Lloyd asks if he can take it, and she agrees. But suddenly, the entire dungeon starts shaking. Tao explains that this is completely normal whenever a dungeon's treasure is taken. The cave collapses and disappears forever. They quickly escape outside, watching as the dungeon entrance seals itself shut. Lloyd finds the whole thing fascinating, but then suddenly remembers that Grimm needs him. He thanks Tao for showing him the dungeon and prepares to leave. From behind, Tao shouts that the final move he used is called a Kai bladed technique even she hasn't mastered yet. She promises to get stronger and learn all Kai techniques someday. Lloyd smiles and tells her he'll learn even more from her next time before flying off into the sky. He rushes across the landscape at full speed and sneaks back into his room only to find Grimm lying on the floor, completely beaten up. Turns out Silva had tried to train him, but after realizing he was much weaker than before, she ended up training him all day, completely draining his energy even though he's a demon. Later, Lloyd shows Grimm the knife he found in the dungeon, mentioning that it seems to be enchanted. He brings out some water and uses a special magic to slowly strip away the enchantments from the blade. Grimm explains that enchantments are rare and extremely difficult to perform, but Lloyd immediately decides that he wants to learn it himself. After purifying the enchantment residue, he realizes he'll need oil, silver, and weapons to practice. He asks his father for silver, and surprisingly he gets it without any trouble. However, Silva tells him she'll only give him oil if he can land a hit on her, so they start sparring. Lloyd gives it everything he's got, trying to match Silva's skills. He even uses his acceleration technique to appear behind her and attempts a surprise attack, but Silva easily dodges. Lloyd quickly follows up with earth magic, creating barriers and launching attacks, but she avoids everything and smashes through the boulders, overpowering him and catching him mid-fall. Even though Lloyd loses, Silva still gives him the oil, just happy that he performed better than before. After that, Lloyd and Grimm head into their secret dungeon. They melt down silver coins and mix them with the oil, creating a special solution for enchantment. Now, all they need are weapons, so Lloyd goes to his older brother Albert and asks for some. Albert immediately orders his guards to bring out as many weapons as possible. The guards reluctantly obey, practically on the verge of tears, convinced their weapons are about to be destroyed because enchantment is incredibly difficult, and there's no way a 10-year-old could pull it off. Lloyd and Grimm take the weapons down into the dungeon and begin their work as expected. Many of the weapons can't handle the process and shatter into pieces. But Lloyd doesn't give up. He keeps trying again and again, breaking weapon after weapon, while Grimm and his clone assist him. His clone even bringing him tea as he works non-stop. Finally, after all that effort, Lloyd returns to Albert with the results. Out of 120 swords, he successfully enchanted 50. The rest were destroyed. Albert is completely shocked. Even higher-ranked enchanters usually only have a success rate of around 10%. Meanwhile, Lloyd casually thinks to himself that he technically succeeded with around 80 blades. But they broke because he tried adding too many extra in. He was a poor, pathetic loser. But fate gave him another chance. Lloyd was once nothing more than a disgusting commoner, someone the nobles looked down on like trash. One day he was captured and dragged before them, accused of being worthless, ugly and weak. They laughed at him, mocked him, told him his magic was the weakest in the entire kingdom, and that someone like him didn't deserve to live. Before killing him, they decided to humiliate him one last time, giving him a chance to use his magic against them. Blinded by anger, Lloyd gathered all his strength and launched a fire spell, but it was so weak, so pathetic that the nobles burst out laughing again. At that moment Lloyd questioned his entire existence. Why was he even born like this? Then one of the nobles stepped forward and showed him what real magic looked like. A massive fireball dot in an instant. Lloyd was engulfed in flames, screaming in agony. But, strangely, in that final moment, he understood something. For the first time in his life, he saw the true beauty of magic, and as his body burned away, he made one final wish. If I get another chance, I'll learn everything about magic and become the strongest. And just like that, his eyes opened. He found himself in a luxurious room, surrounded by maids. Confused, he wondered, is this heaven? But before he could process anything, his curiosity got the better of him, and the moment he moved, boom! A burst of magic exploded through the roof of the castle. Everyone froze, even Lloyd, because somehow, as a newborn, he had just unleashed insane power. That's when it became clear. His wish had come true. Not only had he been reincarnated, but he was now overflowing with mana. And on top of that, he was born as the 7th prince of the royal family. Years passed, and the kingdom prospered peacefully. Inside the castle, life was calm, except for one problem: Lloyd. The maids were constantly chasing him through the corridors, trying to keep up with a hyperactive prince who just wanted freedom one day. While hiding behind a statue, Lloyd spotted some politicians nearby and begged them not to reveal his location. They agreed, but before they could even finish talking, Lloyd had already disappeared again. As they watched him run off, one of them mocked the others for trying to impress a prince who would never inherit the throne, but another reminded him this is the kid who was reading spell books before he could even walk, the one who refused milk like a gentleman, the one who blew a hole through the castle the day he was born. Meanwhile, Lloyd himself didn't care about a throne at all. All he wanted was magic. He ran through the castle dodging the maids, until he finally reached his favorite place, the royal library. His eyes lit up instantly at the sight of countless magic books. But just as he grabbed one, found you. His teacher Silpha dragged him out for sword training. What followed was an intense sparring session. Their blades clashed at insane speeds, moving faster than the eye could follow. At first it looked like Lloyd was holding his own, but soon, Silpha pushed him back effortlessly, taking a breather. Lloyd complained about training with a sword every day when he wasn't even going to inherit the throne, but Silpha wasn't having it. Whether you're royalty or not, you need to protect yourself. They resumed the fight. This time, faster, sharper, more intense. Silpha even admitted that Lloyd had improved, but Lloyd knew the truth. She was still holding back, so to keep up, he cheated using control magic. He started copying every single one of her movements, but even then, the difference in strength, reach, and height put him at a disadvantage, so he cheated more. He extended his sword using magic, enhanced his arm strength, and even started levitating to match her height. Now the fight changed completely. The two clashed again, matching each other blow for blow. Meanwhile, deep inside a dungeon, Lloyd faced a terrifying monster. The creature unleashed a barrage of magic blasts, trying to end the fight instantly, but Lloyd calmly broke his own barrier. This shocked the monster, but also excited it. Now, the real fight began. Lloyd swung from rocks, leaping across the cave, dodging every attack with insane agility as if he was parkouring through the battlefield. With every movement, he learned. With every dodge, he adapted. And then he did something insane. He merged Kai with mana, creating a completely new kind of power. His attacks became overwhelming. He shattered every incoming spell, then created razor-sharp magic blades and launched them relentlessly. The monster tried to defend, but it was useless. Lloyd was too fast, too precise, too strong. With each strike, he pushed the creature further, until finally his blade sliced straight through its barrier and destroyed it completely. The fight was over. Inside the treasure chest, there was only a simple knife. Tao didn't care about it, so Lloyd took it. But suddenly, the dungeon began collapsing. Tao explained that once the treasure is taken, the dungeon disappears forever. They escaped just in time. As Lloyd left, Tao called out to him the technique he used. That's called a Kai blade. Even I can't use it yet, Lloyd smiled. I'll learn more from you soon. And with that, he flew away. Back at the castle, he found Grim completely exhausted. Turns out Silpha had trained him all day later. Lloyd examined the knife and realized it was enchanted. That sparked a new goal: learning enchanting with Silpha, oil, and weapons. He began experimenting, breaking dozens of swords in the process, but he didn't stop, and in the end, out of 120 swords he successfully enchanted 50 amperes, a result that shocked everyone. Even Herink enchanters couldn't achieve that. Soon after, Lloyd joined a hunting expedition. During the journey, monsters attacked, but this time, The enchanted swords cut through them like butter. The knights were stunned even. Albert praised Lloyd's skills, and just when things seemed calm, a massive beast appeared. A beowulf, faster, stronger, deadlier. Deadlier, everyone prepared for battle. But Lloyd, he just sat there, watching with excitement, because for him this wasn't danger. This was fun. The spell completely incinerates the beast, barbecuing it on the spot. Everyone stands there in shock, watching the sheer power of the attack. The knights erupt into cheers, shouting Albert's name, calling him the strongest mage in the kingdom. Even Albert himself looks surprised. He calmly admits that his magic isn't usually this powerful, but thanks to Lloyd's enchanted weapons, his spell was boosted to an entirely different level. For a moment, everyone believes the fight is over, but Grim suddenly calls out to Lloyd. He remembers something important. The chapel on top of the hill was once used to seal a powerful demon. Before Lloyd can even react, to dead beast twitches, then rises. Everyone freezes, and right before their eyes, dozens of monsters begin appearing all around them. Out of nowhere, a grotesque hand bursts out from the beowulf's mouth, and a demon slowly crawls out. With a twisted grin, he introduces himself as Paz, and promises to kill every single person present. The monsters charge. Instantly, Albert and his knights try to hold their ground, but something is wrong. Their attacks are useless. Every wound regenerates instantly. Dao kicks one of the monsters away and shouts that this is getting out of hand. They can't fight an endless army like this. The knights try to overwhelm them with numbers, but it doesn't matter, no matter how many times they strike. The monsters just keep healing. Silpha quickly tells Lloyd to hide, and he calmly steps back, completely unfazed. Instead, he turns to Grim and asks a question. Do you know that demon? Grim narrows his eyes. He doesn't know Paz personally, but he's almost certain this is the same demon that was sealed inside the chapel. And worse, Paz is controlling every monster like a puppet, using his mana to both command them and regenerate their bodies. Lloyd listens carefully, then casually drops Grim on the ground and asks, "Can you teach me how to do that?" Grim is stunned. In the middle of a life or death battle, that this kid wants a lesson. Meanwhile, Dao struggles to keep up with the monsters, while Silpha coldly calls them weak. Paz, on the other hand, is enjoying every second of it, is confident, smug, cert of his victory. But then he makes a mistake. He mocks Lloyd, calling him a useless child who needs protection. And that sets Silpha off. She calmly asks Lloyd if she can leave him alone for a moment. Lloyd doesn't even look up. He's too busy learning. And just like that, the atmosphere changes. A heavy wave of pressure spreads across the battlefield. Everyone feels it. Silpha is serious now. She grips her sword and walks toward Paz without fear. Paz laughs at her, mocking her even more. But Silpha fires back with insults of her own, completely unfazed. That's when Paz attacks, but in the blink of an eye, Silpha disappears, and the next moment all four limbs of the beast are sliced clean off. Paz freezes, shocked. He immediately starts regenerating the body using all his mana, but something strange happens. Albert notices it first. The other monsters have stopped regenerating, which means if they keep pressure on the main body, they can win, while the battle intensifies. Lloyd is still in his own world, learning, experimenting, understanding mana at a deeper level. Grim explains the basics. First shape it, then give it color, then maybe even scent. It's supposed to be extremely difficult, but when Grim turns around, he freezes, because Lloyd has already created a perfect mana flower, glowing with colors, and even carrying a scent. Both of them stare at it in disbelief, then start admiring it like it's the greatest thing ever. Meanwhile, Silpha is absolutely dominating the battlefield. She knocks Paz down again and again, completely overwhelming him. At one point, she even borrows a sword from a nearby knight, calmly inspecting it. Paz watches her closely, confused. Who is this woman? There are no openings in her defense, no hesitation, no fear. He can't understand why someone this strong would serve as a mere god for a child. But for Silpha, Lloyd isn't just a prince, he's everything. Paz then tries to play mind games. He laughs and claims he's interested in Lloyd, that he'll tear the boy apart piece by piece, study him, and burn whatever remains. He circles around Silpha, trying to provoke her. And for a moment, it seems like it's working. Her expression tightens, her grip sharpens. Pause. smirks, thinking he finally broke her composure. He lunges forward, convinced this is his opening, but dash in an instant Sylpha appears right in front of him, inside the beast's own range. Her eyes cold, her voice calm. "Who do you think you're fighting?" Paz freezes. For the first time, he realizes he might have made a fatal mistake. Sylpha drives her blade straight through the beast's mouth and splits it in half. Blood sprays across the battlefield. Without hesitation, she leaps into the air, a silhouette framed perfectly against the moon, and then she dives back. Down. One clean strike. The beowulf's head is severed, revealing the demon hiding inside. Paz panics. For the first time, he loses his composure. He tries to retaliate, but Sylpha is already ahead of him. She flips back, then instantly lunges forward, stabbing him through the eye, then the mouth, before tearing the entire body apart into pieces. The remains explode outward. Paz is thrown out, completely exposed before he can even recover. Another strike lands. Then another blade tears across his body, sending him crashing into the ground. Everyone watching freezes. The knights tremble. They had never seen Sylpha like this, not even once. Even Lloyd is shocked in that moment. He realizes something terrifying. If she goes all out, even he might not be able to beat her. But Sylpha doesn't care about anything else. She has only one target. Slowly, she walks toward the broken demon, her voice cold. "Get ready to feel the blade. Enchanted by the boy you dared to threaten." She gives him one last chance. Submit, but Paz just smiles, and then he exhales a strange pink gas. It spreads instantly. The monsters begin regenerating again, faster than before. They rush Sylpha from behind, but Albert and Dao blast him away just in time. Albert shouts orders, commanding the knights to form a defensive line, buying Sylpha time to finish the demon. But then the gas reaches them and everything changes. One by one, they start collapsing. Their bodies grow heavy, their vision fades. Even Sylpha drops to one knee. Paz rises into the air, stretching his wings with a twisted grin. He explains calmly, anyone who inhales his demonic smoke loses all strength. They can't fight, they can't move, they just fall. And now, he has all the time in the world to kill them, but Sylpha still glares at him. Even now, even broken, you stink. Paz's smile disappears. Annoyed, he rushes in to finish her, but suddenly Dao appears. She blocks the attack just in time, saving Sylpha. Paz frowns. "How are you still standing?" Dao grits her teeth, asking Sylpha if she can still fight. Sylpha refuses help, tells her to stay out of it. But Dao snaps back. "You can't even stand." Sylpha cuts her off. "Go, protect Lloyd." And with that, she collapses into the water, unconscious. Paz watches her fall. Almost impressed, he admits she might be one of the strongest fighters alive, surviving his gas longer than anyone ever has. Then suddenly he appears behind Dao, his voice low, unsettling. "Why aren't you unconscious yet?" Dao Swincy dodges. In an instant, his tentacles wrap around her leg, sending a surge of electricity through her body. He lifts her upside down, studying her, realizing she's using a breathing technique to resist the gas. He asks her why she didn't run when she had the chance. But Dao smirks and drives her elbow straight into his face. "I'd rather die than serve someone as ugly as you." She flips back, gathering her strength, and unleashes one of her strongest attacks. A massive blast sends Paz crashing into the water, but she knows that wasn't enough. She needs time to recover. Unfortunately, she doesn't get it. A monster lunges from behind, clamping its jaws around her. She struggles, barely holding it open, and realizes the monsters have already regenerated. Paz rises again, completely unfazed. He mocks her, calls her entire party weak, says only she and Sybella are worth keeping. Then he releases his demonic smoke at full power. The entire battlefield is engulfed. "Seven and become mine." But Dao refuses even now. She stands her ground because she can feel something. Someone, she whispers, "My prince is nearby." And that alone gives her strength. Paz scoffs and orders the monster to swallow her. The beast obeys, and just like that, Dao is gone. The battlefield falls silent. Paz looks around, satisfied the fight is over. Now it's time to collect his prize. He pulls Sylpha's unconscious body from the water and smirks. She killed too many of his monsters, so now she repaid him by becoming his servant forever. Meanwhile, in the background, Lloyd is still calmly observing everything. Almost like none of this concerns him, he looks at Paz curiously and asks, How exactly are you controlling all these monsters? Paz grins. Proud. He explains how he killed their parents, raised them in fear, and used his demonic smoke to dominate their minds, turning them into puppets, completely under his control. And as he continues talking, he doesn't realize one thing. He just made a huge mistake. Because Lloyd wasn't asking out of curiosity, he was learning. He was once a poor, pathetic loser, but then he gets reincarnated as a prince with godly abilities. Lloyd used to be nothing more than a miserable commoner, caught, humiliated, and dragged in front of nobles who saw him as absolute trash. They mocked him for being ugly, weak, and for having the worst magic in the entire kingdom. To them, he didn't even deserve to exist, and just before executing him, they decided to disrespect him one last time. They gave him a chance, a final spell. Blinded by rage, Lloyd launches his fire magic at them, but it's so weak, so pathetic, that the nobles burst out laughing again. At that moment, Lloyd starts questioning everything. Why was I even born like this? Then one of the nobles decides to show him what real magic looks like, and fires a massive fireball straight at him. Lloyd is instantly engulfed in flames, screaming in agony. But in that moment, something changes. Instead of fear, Hippie feels AU for the first time. He understands the beauty, the depth, the power of true magic. And as he burns alive, he makes one final wish. If I get another chance, I'll master magic and become the strongest wizard imaginable. The next moment, he opens his eyes. He's in a luxurious room, surrounded by maids. Confused, he wonders if this is heaven, and immediately tries to cop a feel, but accidentally activates a spell that blows a hole through the castle roof. As a toddler, turns out his wish came true. Not only was he reincarnated with insane mana, he was reborn as the 7th prince of the royal family. A few years pass. The kingdom is peaceful, prosperous, and thriving. Meanwhile, Lloyd, he's busy running away from maids, hiding behind statues like a menace. At one point, he bumps into some politicians and begs them not to reveal his location. They agree, but one of them tries to suck up by offering a hunting trip to Bat, already dipped. The other guy calls him a dumb kiss-up, saying the 7th prince will never inherit the throne anyway. But then the blonde dude reminds him this is the same kid who was reading spellbooks before turning 1, refused breast milk like a gentleman, and literally blew up part of the castle at birth. But Lloyd, he doesn't care about the throne. All he cares about is magic. He finally escapes the maids and sneaks into the royal library. His eyes start shining the moment he sees all those books. Bro's in heaven. But before he can even start reading, Overpowered instructor drags him out for sword training. They immediately start sparring at insane speed, attacking and countering faster than you can blink. At first it looks like Lloyd is keeping up, but Silpha quickly pushes him back as they pause. Lloyd complains about this daily sword training. I mean, he's the 7th prince, he's not even getting the throne. But Silpha isn't having it. She tells him that everyone needs to know how to fight and protect themselves, no matter their status. Then she casually drops that training him has become her life's purpose. Lloyd straight up tells her to go touch grass. Bad idea. They clash again, this time even harder. Silpha admits that Lloyd has improved a lot, but Lloyd knows she's still holding back, so what does he do? He cheats, using control-type magic. He starts copying her movements perfectly, basically becoming a mirror, but even then, he's still at a disadvantage due to strength, reach, and height, so he cheats even more. He extends his sword with magic, bulks up his arm like Sam Sulek and starts levitating to match her height. Now it's a fair fight. Well, fair meanwhile. In another battle, Lloyd faces a powerful enemy and decides to break his own limits. The opponent launches a barrage of magic blasts, trying to end the fight instantly, but Lloyd starts moving through the cave, like a parkour god, dodging everything. Then he combines Kai with his mana, and creates a devastating attack. He destroys all incoming attacks, shocking everyone watching. But he's not done. He creates razor-sharp magic blades and starts firing them relentlessly. The enemy tries to defend, but burns through too much magic just to survive at this point. Lloyd is overwhelming him completely. His speed, precision, and power, he surpasses opponent. One clean strike lands. Confidence reaches as his blades become thinner, sharper, deadlier. The enemy hides behind a barrier, but Lloyd's blade slice straight through it, and him fight over. Inside the treasure chest, just an old knife. Tao doesn't care, but Lloyd takes it. Suddenly, the dungeon starts collapsing. Turns out, once the treasure's taken, the dungeon disappears forever. They escape safely, and Lloyd is fascinated as he leaves. Tao tells him that the move he used is called a Kai blade, something even she can't do yet. She promises to get stronger. Lloyd just smiles and flies off. Back home, he finds Grim completely destroyed. Silpha apparently trained him all day later. Lloyd examines the knife and realizes it's enchanted, so naturally he decides to learn enchanting. He gathers material silver, oil weapons, and starts experimenting. Out of 120 swords, he successfully enchants 50. That's insane. Top enchanters only have a 10% success rate. Lloyd casually surpasses them. Soon after, he joins a monster hunting expedition. At first, everything seems peaceful, until monsters attack. But thanks to Lloyd's enchanted swords, the knights absolutely destroy them. Even they're scared of how sharp the blades are. Later, a demon named Paz appears, and things go downhill fast. Monsters regenerate endlessly. Chaos spreads everywhere. But Lloyd is just curious. While everyone struggles, he learns how to control mana mid-fight, then casually creates a flower made of mana with color and smell. Meanwhile, Silpha goes berserk and absolutely demolishes the demon. But even then, the situation worsens. Until finally Lloyd steps in. Unaffected by the demon's magic, he casually plays with monster wolves, then frees them from control using his mana. The same monsters turn against the demon, and then Lloyd goes even further, traps the demon, turns the battlefield into his playground, and starts experimenting on him like a lab rat for 30 minutes straight. In the end, the demon is reduced to ash. And Lloyd, he quietly disappears, like nothing happened. When asked later, he simply lies. Some magician named Robert handled it. With Lloyd's enchanted weapons, the knights realize, without him they wouldn't have stood a chance. Everyone is shocked. And then, out of nowhere, Albert makes a bold move. He asks the king to include Lloyd in the race to become the next king. The entire court goes silent, but the king accepts. The moment this is announced, everyone rushes toward Lloyd and starts cuddling him like crazy, leaving the poor kid completely squished and tattered. Later, Lloyd, Silpha, and Shiro return home. Of course, Silpha immediately wants to drag him into training again, but Lloyd is not having it. Luckily, Albert shows up at the perfect time and saves him, saying he needs to talk to his younger brother. Silpha doesn't like it one bit, but she can't disavow him. Albert takes Lloyd to meet someone important for Prince Diane. Lloyd is a bit surprised to see him, and things get even more interesting when they arrive at Diane's blacksmith workshop. A forge built right in the middle of a small pond. Yeah, bro is built different. Diane gets straight to the point. He slams his hammer on the table and says he doesn't believe a kid like Lloyd could have created those enchanted swords, so he wants proof. Albert explains that Diane has been learning blacksmithing since he was 10 and is deeply interested in enchanting. Hearing that, Diane gets fired up and tells Lloyd to start immediately. Lloyd picks up a sword and begins engraving enchantments under Diane's intense gaze. In no time he's done, and Diane, completely speechless. Not only was Lloyd faster than master enchanters, he was more precise, and somehow stacked more spells on the blade than should even be possible. Diane finally accepts it. Lloyd is a genius. He lifts Lloyd up excitedly and says that with his help he can finally achieve his dream, creating the ultimate magic sword. Lloyd is curious, so Diane explains, a true magic sword isn't just enchanted afterward. It's enchanted during the forging process, while the metal is still hot. That's what makes it insanely powerful. But it requires perfect teamwork between a blacksmith and an enchanter. Diane admits something surprising: he has no talent for magic, and because of that, he understands how powerless people without magic feel. So his dream is simple: to create swords that allow anyone to use magic just by swinging them. Lloyd, he honestly doesn't care about the emotional speech, but the process itself. That gets him interested, so he agrees to help. They start working immediately. Lloyd even changes into a ridiculous apprentice uniform. Yeah, not his proudest moment. Closing parenthesis. Diane decides they'll create a sword infused with fireball magic, but Lloyd suggests using high-level fire magic instead. Diane shuts it down instantly. That kind of spell has 14 parts, and a magic sword can only handle 5 at most. Lloyd, say less. He compresses the entire spell into just 2 parts. Absolute madness. He inscribes the enchantment and applies it to the red-hot steel, and it instantly shatters. Yeah, too much power. So Lloyd simplifies the spell and tries again. This time it's more stable. But when Diane tries to shape the sword, it breaks again. Now Lloyd starts feeling guilty. All that effort wasted. He begins wondering what's going wrong. That's when Grim pops out of Shiro's fur and notices something important. The enchantment liquid they're using. Diane admits he bought it because it was cheap. Big mistake. Lloyd purifies the liquid and analyzes it, and realizes the problem: there's barely any monster core essence in it. Not nearly enough to support a proper magic sword. And guess what? Diane doesn't have any monster cores either, so Lloyd comes to the obvious conclusion: they need to clear a dungeon. Silpha was already thinking the same thing. She immediately suggests they go dungeon hunting. Lloyd panics and tries to act. Royal princes don't go into dungeons, but Silpha shuts him down instantly. She already got permission from the king, and the king believes letting Lloyd explore the world will help him grow. The next day they head to the Adventurers Guild. Lloyd's amazed seeing it for the first time. The Receptionist Katerina welcomes him and hands over the registration forms. A few days later, we see Lloyd train in Shiro. He's taught the giant fluffball basic tricks like shaking hands and standing on two legs. Silpha claps proudly. But Lloyd isn't satisfied. Of course not. He complains that Shiro still can't follow complex commands like changing the pitch of his bark, spinning 3 times, then lying down perfectly. Yeah, bro is training him like a circus performer. With Lloyd's enchanted weapons, the knights realize without him they wouldn't have stood a chance. Everyone is shocked. And then, out of nowhere, Albert makes a bold move. He asks the king to include Lloyd in the race to become the next king. The entire court goes silent, but the king accepts. The moment this is announced, everyone rushes toward Lloyd and starts cuddling him like crazy, leaving the poor kid completely squished and tattered later. Lloyd, Silpha, and Shiro return home. Of course, Silpha immediately wants to drag him into training again, but Lloyd is not having it. Luckily, Albert shows up at the perfect time and saves him, saying he needs to talk to his younger brother. Silpha doesn't like it one bit, but she can't disavow him. Albert takes Lloyd to meet someone important for Prince Diane. Lloyd is a bit surprised to see him, and things get even more interesting when they arrive at Diane's blacksmith workshop. A forge built right in the middle of a small pond. Yeah, bro is built different. Diane gets straight to the point. He slams his hammer on the table and says he doesn't believe a kid like Lloyd could have created those enchanted swords, so he wants proof. Albert explains that Diane has been learning blacksmithing since he was 10 and is deeply interested in enchanting. Hearing that, Diane gets fired up and tells Lloyd to start immediately. Lloyd picks up a sword and begins engraving enchantments under Diane's intense gaze. In no time he's done, and Diane, completely speechless. Not only was Lloyd faster than master enchanters, he was more precise, and somehow stacked more spells on the blade than should even be possible. Diane finally accepts it. Lloyd is a genius. He lifts Lloyd up excitedly and says that with his help he can finally achieve his dream, creating the ultimate magic sword. Lloyd is curious, so Diane explains, a true magic sword isn't just enchanted afterward. It's enchanted during the forging process, while the metal is still hot. That's what makes it insanely powerful. But it requires perfect teamwork between a blacksmith and an enchanter. Diane admits something surprising: he has no talent for magic, and because of that, he understands how powerless people without magic feel. So his dream is simple: to create swords that allow anyone to use magic just by swinging them. Lloyd, he honestly doesn't care about the emotional speech, but the process itself. That gets him interested, so he agrees to help. They start working immediately. Lloyd even changes into a ridiculous apprentice uniform. Yeah, not his proudest moment. Closing parenthesis. Diane decides they'll create a sword infused with fireball magic, but Lloyd suggests using high-level fire magic instead. Diane shuts it down instantly. That kind of spell has 14 parts, and a magic sword can only handle 5 at most. Lloyd, say less. He compresses the entire spell into just 2 parts. Absolute madness. He inscribes the enchantment and applies it to the red-hot steel, and it instantly shatters. Yeah, too much power. So Lloyd simplifies the spell and tries again. This time it's more stable. But when Diane tries to shape the sword, it breaks again. Now Lloyd starts feeling guilty. All that effort wasted. He begins wondering what's going wrong. That's when Grim pops out of Shiro's fur and notices something important. The enchantment liquid they're using. Diane admits he bought it because it was cheap. Big mistake. Lloyd pure the liquid and analyzes it, and realizes the problem: there's barely any monster core essence in it. Not nearly enough to support a proper magic sword, and guess what? Diane doesn't have any monster cores either, so Lloyd comes to the obvious conclusion: they need to clear a dungeon. Silpha was already thinking the same thing. She immediately suggests they go dungeon hunting. Lloyd panics and tries to act. Royal princes don't go into dungeons, but Silpha shuts him down instantly. She already got permission from the king, and the king believes letting Lloyd explore the world will help him grow. The next day they head to the Adventurers Guild. Lloyd's amazed seeing it for the first time. The receptionist Katerina welcomes him and hands over the registration forms. A few days later, we see Lloyd train in Shiro. He's taught the giant fluffball basic tricks like shaking hands and standing on two legs. Silpha claps proudly. But Lloyd isn't satisfied. Of course not. He complains that Shiro still can't follow complex commands like changing the pitch of his bark, spinning 3 times, then lying down perfectly. Yeah, bro is training him like a circus performer. But Shiro still doesn't understand what those commands actually mean. So he just ends up getting confused. Silpha suggests something simple. Why not ask someone who's actually an expert at taming monsters? And instantly, both of them realize who they need to visit. The only person who can truly help control Shiro is Princess Elise. She lives in a massive garden tower filled with all kinds of creatures, living together in perfect harmony. When they arrive, even Grim is shocked. He looks around at the peaceful monsters and asks, who exactly is this Elise, controlling all of them at once? Lloyd explains she's the 6th princess and his older sister, who absolutely loves animals, and right on cue Elise shows up and immediately jumps on Lloyd. She rolls around cuddling him non-stop. Lloyd tells her to chill, but instead she straight up kisses him, knocking him out of his senses. Silpha panics. She's ready to revive him with a kiss of her own. But before she can, Elise's maid, Eris, shows up and scolds her. Elise casually says she couldn't help it, because her little brother is just too cute after things calm down. Lloyd explains why he's here. He needs help controlling the bear wolf he recently adopted. Elise instantly starts cuddling Shiro. Meanwhile, Silpha is already like, yeah, this isn't gonna work, let's go. But Lloyd isn't giving up yet. He asks Elise to demonstrate her ability, and she casually says, I already did. Suddenly a tall, elegant monster appears behind them, holding Silpha's hairband. Yeah, she didn't even notice it was stolen. Elise introduces it as Leiru, a lesser Fenrir, an advanced species related to bear wolves. Lloyd is stunned. He didn't even sense it approaching, and even crazier, he never saw Elise give it any command. Now he's fully interested. He immediately asks her, how are you controlling them, without saying anything. Elise smiles and gives the most unexpected answer. Love. Everyone. He's confused. She explains that if you truly love animals, you can understand them, and they can understand you. Then suddenly all her creatures gather around her. Eris apologizes to Lloyd, saying Elise is basically a genius with godlike instincts when it comes to animals, and no one can really learn what she does. But Elise gets upset. She insists anyone can do it as long as they have enough love in their heart. She tells them to feel it and release it. And suddenly that feeling turns into a command. All the creatures rush towards Silpha and Eris and start tearing their clothes apart. Silpha immediately panics and tells Lloyd, yeah, we're leaving. This is nonsense. Controlling monsters with love sounds way too abstract. But Lloyd, he's already figured something out. Instead of giving orders, Elise wasn't commanding them at all. She was sharing her will. When she acted earlier, Lloyd noticed her mana flowing directly from her mind into the creatures. She was sending them her intent, not instructions. So Lloyd tries it himself. He focuses his mana, visualizes exactly what he wants Shiro to do, and sends that image straight into Shiro's mind. And instantly Shiro responds. He runs around Lloyd exactly 3 times, jumps into the air, lets out a single bark, and lands perfectly. Lloyd smiles and pets him. Perfect execution. Eris is completely stunned. Silpha is shocked and slightly disappointed her fantasies didn't come true. Meanwhile, Elise is a bit annoyed. She says Lloyd is overcomplicating things. It's not about mana or will. It's just about loving animals. Lloyd agrees but adds something important. Love is necessary, because without it, animals won't trust you, and you won't understand them. Hearing that, all 3 girls are completely captivated by him. Yeah, bro accidentally rizzed everyone later. Back at the Adventurers Guild, Lloyd fills out his registration form honestly. The receptionist hands him a crystal ball, used to measure his power and determine his rank. Lloyd remembers this from his past life. Back then, the crystal barely reacted, just a faint purple glow because he had almost no magic at all. But now, it's a completely different story. He's 90% sure if he uses his full power, the crystal will straight up explode, and that would bring way too much attention. So instead he compresses his mana down to just 1% of its actual level, and touches the crystal. The result appears magic. Rank everything else, F rank overall rank, E rank, and instantly the entire guild bursts out laughing. Even the weakest adventurers are looking down on him. Little do they know, they're laughing at someone who could wipe them out without even trying. Adventurers usually begin at the lowest rank, D rank, but the moment Lloyd registers, things feel off. Katarina, the receptionist, is completely stunned, because Lloyd's magic, it's already on the level of a seasoned mage. She even goes as far as to say he might be the most promising adventurer since the legendary Silver Blader, and yay, that doesn't sit well with the others. The guild instantly erupts. How can you compare that kid to a legend? After all, Silver Blader was a monster, someone who sliced through entire hordes like paper, and then mysteriously disappeared after reaching the top ranks. Silpha, standing nearby, barely holds back her anger, but instead of arguing, she calmly asks for a dungeon quest. Katerina refuses. You need at least to be a rank adventurer to enter. Silpha sighs and decides she'll just re-register. But before she can move, some random guy grabs her shoulder, telling her to ditch Lloyd and go with him instead. Big mistake in the next second. Half his mustache is gone. The entire guild goes silent. That's when Katarina drops the bomb. Silpha is the legendary Silver Blader. Instant regret hits everyone. The same men who were trash-talking now, they're terrified. Meanwhile, Katarina explains that if Silpha re-registers, she'll be demoted to C rank due to guild rules. And right then, Tao shows up. With a smug smile, she offers Lloyd her help, clearly interested in him for her own reasons. Silpha isn't having it and tries to leave, but Tao stops her, teasing her about her search. Turns out Tao has been desperately looking for someone named Robert, who's even been clearing dungeons non-stop, and has now reached a dash rank. Then out of nowhere she grabs Lloyd and demands a favor. If I help you, set me up on a date with Prince Albert. Yeah, she's serious. Later, Lloyd checks the quest board. While Silpha tries to get her robe back from Tao, Lloyd, curious, asks why Silpha never told him about her past. She admits she only became an adventurer to grow stronger, but eventually she ran into enemies from the Assassin's Guild, people she couldn't defeat, so she retired. Not long after, Lloyd and his party enter a dungeon, and honestly, they clear it like it's nothing. They even retrieve the dungeon core with ease. Elsewhere, Prince Albert visits Diane, who confirms they can resume their work once Lloyd returns. But there's a problem. A war is coming, and fast. Albert is worried they need as much preparation as possible. Diane suggests waiting a bit longer, so they can mass-produce magic swords. But Albert just smiles and says what matters most is protecting their people. Still, he urges Diane to keep working because those swords could save countless lives. Soon after, Lloyd returns with a dungeon core, and thanks to higher quality materials this time, Diane finally succeeds in creating a magic sword. They decide to test it. One swing, and boom, a massive fireball erupts, completely obliterating the target. The explosion leaves behind a huge crater. Diane and Albert are speechless. Even Lloyd starts sweating, realizing he might have gone a bit overboard. Yeah, maybe I should tone it down next time. That night, Lloyd finally relaxes. Shiro and Grim instantly pass out beside him. Everything seems peaceful, until suddenly he senses something strange in the garden. It feels like a distortion, almost like a hole in space itself. Then Dashi notices someone, an assassin. She's hiding near the fountain, waiting for the perfect moment to strike, but before she can act, Lloyd appears right next to her. She panics and tries to escape too. Late. A barrier surrounds them. There's no way out. Lloyd casually teases her, asking why she's trespassing, and if she's ready to face the consequences. The assassin immediately drops her cloak and apologizes, but at the same time releases a sweet, flowery scent. Lloyd inhales it and instantly feels dizzy. Poison. He quickly uses a purification spell, but the poison only gets stronger. Within seconds, he's on his knees. The assassin smirks. There's no cure for my poison, but Lloyd has already figured it out. She's not using normal poison, she's constantly altering it with magic, which means no standard spell can neutralize it. People like her are rare, be it born with dangerous abilities. They're known as the Blighted. The girl confirms it, she is the poison Blighted. Her name is Ren. Even a moth flying near her drops dead instantly. Then she turns her poison toward Lloyd's barrier, and slowly, it begins to crack. Ren suddenly shatters the barrier with a single kick, then calmly tells Lloyd he hasn't taken a lethal dose. At worst, he'll just feel sick for a few days. And just like that, she vanishes into the night. Lloyd, instead of panicking, is impressed. That's when Grim rushes in, asking if he's okay, but Lloyd casually reveals he's already using a high-level spell, Healing Breath, to recover instantly. So yeah, no real danger. He changes his shirt and drops the real reason he let her escape. He's tracking her, because Lloyd is now certain Ren is part of the Assassin's Guild Silver warned him about. Even though Ren perfectly hides her presence, Lloyd follows her across the city with ease. Why? Because he's already figured out her trick. She's literally tearing small holes in space to conceal herself, and now that he knows, finding her is child's play. With a smile on his face, Lloyd casually leaves the palace. Moments later, Sylph and Shiro arrive. They sensed danger, but they're already too late. Meanwhile, Ren reaches the Assassin's Guild hideout, but instead of praise, she gets scolded. The leader is furious. Not only was she discovered, she didn't even eliminate the witness. Ren brushes it off, saying it was just a kid, and that her mission was already a success. She even gathered crucial intel about the upcoming war. Ren suggests they could actually join the war this time, but the boss immediately shuts her down. Clearly annoyed, he snaps at her for acting like the former leader, the one who abandoned them. Tension rises between the two until suddenly, one of the assassins senses something. They're not alone. Up on the roof, Lloyd decides to stop hiding. Since he's already been spotted, there's no point. He casually drops down and reveals himself. Ren is shocked. The others recognize him instantly, the normal-looking 7th Prince, who is anything but normal. The leader immediately orders his death, but instead of defending himself, Lloyd drops his barrier. Grim nearly has a heart attack, but Lloyd just laughs. It'd be a shame if I didn't get to experience your skills. Yeah, this kid is enjoying this. He even copies techniques he learned from Dao and challenges him head-on. First attacker, a green-haired assassin. Fast, agile, unpredictable, but Lloyd blocks everything. The assassin tries tricks, throwing his cloak, attacking from behind, launching rapid kicks. All uses. Lloyd reads him like a book. Then suddenly, the man's arm stretches and curves unnaturally, landing a hit. He introduces himself as Babylon, a blighted with elastic, Ruba-like abilities. Lloyd's eyes light up. He's loving this. But then another assassin appears behind him. Suddenly, Lloyd's body becomes insanely heavy, forcing him to his knees. The big bald guy explains that Masked Man is Crow, and his ability, command-based control. But Lloyd simply boosts his body with enhancement magic, and breaks free. Not stopping there, he dodges a massive attack from the bald giant. Golly. But then he gets trapped in a sticky substance. Golly's real ability, a mono-transmuted adhesive. Lloyd struggles, and is forced to ditch his shirt just to escape, and somehow, he's still fangirling over their powers. Then another assassin strikes from behind, a mature woman wielding twin blades. But Lloyd blocks her attack using scraps of cloth he grabbed earlier. She attacks relentlessly, but he dodges everything, so she does something insane. She stabs her own thigh, and instantly the same wound appears on Lloyd. She smiles. My name is Talia. Her ability can transfer damage to anyone she sees. And Lloyd, he just smiles like a maniac. He's completely fascinated. The fight intensifies. The assassins regroup, standing side by side. Introductions are over. Now we kill you. But Lloyd, still smiling, he instantly heals his wound, and at the same time, Talia's wound disappears too. She's shocked, but Lloyd is even more excited. He wraps cloth around his wrists, turns them into blades, and copies Sylpha's fighting style. Now show me what you've got. Gully freezes for a moment because for a split second, Lloyd looks exactly like Sylpha, but there's no time to think, because Lloyd is already charging. For the first time, the assassins feel fear. Real fear. Lloyd goes straight for Babylon. Attack after attack, he overwhelms him and slams him into the ground, but thanks to his rubber-like body, Babylon takes almost no damage. Crow and Gully attack together, a perfect combo. Crow commands blow away, but Lloyd moves faster than sound, dodges the attack and lets it hit Gully instead. Yeah, friendly fire. Gully gets blasted away, and even takes Talia. Gully gets blasted away, taking Talia with him, and in that same instant, Lloyd appears right behind Crow. No hesitation, he unleashes a rapid combo, not giving Crow a single moment to speak because Lloyd already figured it out. Crow's power only works if he finishes his words, so Lloyd shuts him down before he can even activate it. Crow tries one last time, but Lloyd slams him straight into the ground. Gully charges back in, but Talia yells at him to stop. They're literally stuck together. He ignores her, and with one reckless swing, her clothes get completely wrecked. Talia instantly loses it, calling him an absolute idiot, but Lloyd doesn't wait. He attacks Talia head-on. She blocks, warning him not to hurt her, or he'll take the same damage. Lloyd just smiles. He actually wants to test it. So what does he do? He launches her straight into a pillar. The impact twists her body, and at the exact same time, Lloyd's body bends the same way. He coughs up blood, but instead of panic, he's impressed. Your ability is amazing. Suddenly, Gully grabs him from behind, but Lloyd slips out, instantly leaving Gully holding nothing but cloth blades. Then, using Dao's techniques, Lloyd sends him flying again. Even with his sticky web defense, Gully crashes hard next to Ren. Ren freezes. For the first time, she's genuinely scared. Lloyd slowly walks toward her, curious. He wants to see her poison again, but Gully steps in, protecting her. He explains that Ren can't control her poison properly. If she uses it now, everyone here will be affected. Lloyd pauses, then calmly says, "None of you can fully control your powers, can you?" Gully clenches his fists. He admits it. Their abilities are unstable, dangerous. The reason they were forced to live as outcasts. He charges again, but Lloyd's Zaylee dodges, appears behind him, and strikes with a sunder palm. Ren snaps, saying King Gully's been taken down. She rushes. Lloyd enraged, but he blocks her effortlessly. Then Gully stands back up. Completely fine. Everyone is shocked because something changed his mana. It's perfectly stable. Lloyd casually explains he engraved a spell onto Gully's back during the fight, a spell that regulates his mana. Gully breaks down in tears for the first time. His cursed power is under control, and Lloyd doesn't stop there. He calls the others and places the same spell on each of them. Crow speaks normally. After years, Babylon and Talia realize their abilities no longer activate uncontrollably. Talia even tests it, and for once, nothing happens unless she wants it to. Ren looks away, trying to hide it, but she's happy to. For the first time in her life, she won't poison everything around her. When Gully brings in new clothes, she can't help but get excited. Just like that, the assassins accept Lloyd. They even welcome him into their group, and they make him wear Ren's clothes too. She is not happy about that. Lloyd, completely unbothered, asks them to show their powers again, but before that, one decides to tell him their story. Their former leader, Jade, a man with teleportation powers. Sounds cool, right? Not really, because his ability activates randomly, sending him anywhere, without warning. Despite that, he was the most cheerful among them. He brought them together, formed the Assassin's Guild, and took on missions too dirty for adventurers. He even created a symbol, a wolf-marked coin. Every mission they completed, they'd leave it behind, a sign of their existence, and their goal to one day bring peace to the world. He believed they wouldn't have to live in the shadows forever. But then one day, he suddenly teleported away and never came back. Out of that entire one thing catches Lloyd's attention. Teleportation, and as if on quest, magic circle appears right in front of him. From it, a letter emerges. marked with a wolf symbol. A few hours later, Silpha and Shiro arrive at the hideout, but it's empty, no sign of Lloyd. Instead, they find a note. Lloyd has already left. He's heading straight into enemy territory, the land of Lordost, alongside the Assassin's Guild. When the news reaches Arthur, he completely panics. His hands tremble. He assumes the worst, that Lloyd has been kidnapped and he's ready to start a war. Diane tries to calm him down, reminding him Lloyd isn't someone who can be taken so easily. They should think this through. But then Sophia shows something. Lloyd's torn, dirty clothes, found in the cave. And in that moment all doubt disappears. Arthur and Silpha are ready for war. Endhook, a genius prince, a rogue assassin guild, and a war about to explode. And Lloyd, he just walks straight into the enemy's territory. On purpose. Back at the kingdom, everyone is preparing for war. But the funny part, Lloyd has no idea. Because right now, he's casually flying through the sky carrying his new assassin friends straight toward Lord Ostot. The truth behind the letter is finally revealed. It wasn't from an enemy, it was from their leader, Jade. According to the letter, Jade was randomly teleported into Lord Ost's territory, but instead of dying, he pulled off something insane. He overthrew the local lord who was planning a war, and crowned himself the new ruler. Then he invited all of them to come meet him at the manor. The assassins are overwhelmed with emotion. They thought their leader was gone forever, but now he's alive and waiting for them. Golly drops to his knees, thanking Lloyd for freeing them from their cursed powers. He promises one day he'll repay this debt. Then Ren shyly approaches Lloyd. For once she's nervous. She asks him to come with them, because she wants Lloyd to help fix Jade too. Lloyd pauses, takes the letter, and carefully analyzes it. Then he asks a strange question. How do you think this letter got here? The assassins are confused. Obviously teleportation. That's Jade's power. But Lloyd shakes his head. Teleportation. Magic isn't that simple. Even the smallest mistake can destroy whatever you're sending. But this letter, it arrived perfectly. Precisely, flawlessly. Which means only one thing: Jade has already mastered his ability. That realization hits hard. The older members grow suspicious. If Jade can fully control his power now, then why call them? Ren, however, still believes in him. She insists. Maybe he just wants to reunite. The others aren't so sure. This could easily be a trap. Lloyd looks at Ren and says, if he already mastered his power, then I'm not needed. Ren's expression drops. For a moment, she feels abandoned again. But then Lloyd suddenly smiles. Just kidding. I'm coming. Why? Because he's interested. Teleportation magic fascinates him. He lightly flicks Ren on the forehead, telling her not to worry. If anything goes wrong, I'll handle it. And just like that, they all set off. Using his insane air magic, flies at supersonic speed. The assassins, yeah, they're screaming for their lives. They've never moved this fast before. Eventually, they land in a forest. Everyone collapses, dizzy and nauseous. Even Babylon is twisted into weird positions. Lloyd harshly tells them to rest, and Ren immediately runs off, determined to hunt food and prove herself. Golly watch as her go, and quietly explains her past. Ren was born with poison abilities so dangerous, she accidentally killed her own parents, forced to survive alone in the forest. She grew up like a wild animal, until one day Jade appeared randomly right in front of her. Instead of fearing her, he picked her up, called her cute, hugged her tightly, and immediately started coughing blood from her. Poison. Everyone told him to leave her. She was too dangerous, too unstable. But Jade refused. He declared he would stay with her, raise her, protect her. And in the end, the entire guild followed his lead. They became her. Famigoli trained her. Talia made her clothes, the others took care of her. Years passed. Ren slowly learned to trust them, to love them eventually. After countless failures, Jade created special, enchanted clothing. Clothes that suppressed her poison. For the first time in her life, Ren could exist without hurting others. Back in the present, Lloyd touched us. The cloak had smiles up. I really want to meet this guy. Right then Ren returns with food. And Ren returns like a bubbling swamp. Babylon Panic Sand suggests Crow fix the taste with his ability, Big Mystic. Ren punches him straight in the stomach, knocking him out instantly. She'd at least try it. Talia tries to gently explain they have royalty with them now. They can't serve something like this. Ren looks hurt, but also understands. Then they turn around and see Lloyd and Grim absolutely devouring the food. Mouths full, no hesitation. It's actually really good. Everyone freezes. Lloyd casually explains in his previous life, he was dirt poor. He's eaten way worse. He misses a feast. The assassins are speechless. Ren, completely stunned for the first time. Someone accepts her cooking just like that. Final end hook. A broken assassin family. A missing leader with godlike teleportation. A prince who turns enemies into allies, and now they're all heading straight into enemy territory. And if Jade really has mastered teleportation, and this isn't just a reunion, it's the beginning of something much bigger.